Dear Swami, thank you for the opportunity you have given us to be in your presence today for the 9th World Conference. Please be with us, guide us, and inspire us. Sairam. Very good morning to Dr. Goldstein, Dr. Michael Goldstein, Chairperson, Prashanti Council, Director of Sri Sathya Sai World Foundation, and Dr. Narendranath Reddy, Member Prashanti Council and also Director of Sri Sathya Sai World Foundation, members of the Prashanti Council, invited guests, office bearers of the International Sathya Sai organizations, and fellow delegates. Today is the beginning of our 9th World Conference on the theme, Sai Ideal Human Life, Sai Ideal Spiritual Organization, founded on the spiritual principles of God is, I am I, love all, serve all. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker for this morning, Dr. Michael Goldstein. Dr. Michael Goldstein did his pre-medical studies at UCLA, the University of California at Los Angeles, and received the degree of Doctor of Medicine from the George Washington University Medical School. Dr. Goldstein practiced family medicine in Southern California for 30 years. He has been Medical Director of Ananda Medical Group, a multi-specialty medical clinic, Medical Director of an Association of Primary Care Physicians in Southern California, and Physician Advisor to 4 Southern California hospitals for case management, utilization management, and quality improvement. Currently, Dr. Goldstein is Medical Director of the FlexEd organization, providing education and credentialing for healthcare providers in California and Nevada. Dr. Goldstein is Chair of the Prashanti Council and Chair of the Sri Sathya Sai World Foundation. Dr. Goldstein is one of the hardest working Sai devotees in our International Sathya Sai organization. He has a deep understanding of Swami's teaching, as well as the workings of the organization. Would I now like to invite Dr. Goldstein to please address us.
With humility and love, I offer myself at the divine lotus feet of our Lord Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, joyous and loving welcome to all of you. My dear brothers and sisters, my fellow spiritual aspirants, my fellow good-willed, good-hearted, selfless servants of our Lord Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, who resides in the hearts of every one of us, fellow workers in the Sri Sathya Sai organization, fellow devotees of our beloved, our dearest, our sweetest, beloved Swami. Welcome to the 9th World Conference of the International Sri Sathya Sai organization. 9 is an auspicious number. 9 is an auspicious time. It's 8:30, but it's almost 9. This is an auspicious time. Most auspicious of all are the blessings that Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba has given us to proceed with this conference, with this program, at this time, with all of you. A joyous and loving welcome to all of you. Ultimately, the common purpose of the Sai pre-World Conferences, this Sai World Conference, all Sai conferences, actually the purpose of human life is to spiritually realize ourselves and inspire our selfless love in our brothers and sisters. I would share with you a very dramatic role that Swami has had in the conception and unfoldment of the series of pre-World Conferences all over the world that are the culmination of this, that culminate in this 9th World Conference. As you know, beginning in February of this year, we conducted pre-World Conferences in Japan, Argentina, Mexico, Italy, Russia, Germany, United States, UK, Malaysia, Australia, South Africa, Canada, Lagos, and Mauritius. Almost 6 years ago, when the Prashanti Council was appointed by Swami, the four of us members had a meeting with Swami in Vrindavan. At that time, Swami gave general instructions and concluded by giving us his blessings to proceed with the work of the Prashanti Council. Just prior to the conclusion of the meeting, Swami suddenly said, much to our surprise, "I am going to send you all over the world to bring my message to the people everywhere." Over the years, I had forgotten these words, and it appears that my fellow Prashanti Council members also forgot. Shame on us. Suddenly, after the last birthday, I felt that we needed to go among the people to meet with them in order to better understand their experience and their needs. As the zone chairman and central coordinators that are here will remember, after I presented the program Sai Ideal Human Life and Sai Ideal Spiritual Organization, we established the 10 official pre-World Conference dates in the countries representing the 10 zones. Later, there were 4 pre-World Conferences in addition to the 10 zonal conferences. All of us who took part in this unprecedented series of very uplifting events will remember the degree of participation and fulfillment that was experienced by most of all of those people who attended. Only recently I was reminded by my fellow Prashanti Council member Bill Harvey that this series of pre-World Conferences constituted the fulfillment of Swami's pronouncement when the Prashanti Council was conceived. I repeat, Swami suddenly said to us, "You will go all over the world and bring my message everywhere." We forgot, but his divine will be done. Hence, the pre-World Conferences. The ways of our Lord are mysterious indeed. His will always prevail. The common purpose of all that we do as his devotees is to waken us from a slumber, this unconsciousness, this shallowness, this unholy sleep, this belief that we are these bodies and minds, and this failure to recognize that we are essentially divine beings. In this World Conference, we will have an opportunity to derive inspiration that will be moving for each of us as individual spiritual aspirants. We can derive insight which will lead to spiritual progress in our individual lives and in our organization. There is no doubt whatsoever, we will achieve spiritual progress. It is ordained. The time and the number of opportunities that we have in these lives in this world is finite, not infinite. I trust that you understand this. Let us awaken now, not later. Now is the time to look at ourselves as an organization, see ourselves as we are, and aspire to become what we could be, what we should be. Now is the time for collective self-inquiry. Who are we? From whence have we come? Where are we going? Now is the time. If not now, then when? Ultimately, the goal is that everyone, all people in the world, light the lamp of love in our own hearts and realize our common divine heritage. Each of us must begin with ourselves by diligently seeking to bring light to the dark areas in our lives and order to our meandering ways. Self-inquiry is essential to a spiritual aspirant. It is essential to a spiritual organization. We need collective self-inquiry as a spiritual organization that bears the divine name of Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. We need to ask ourselves, what are we doing, planning, aspiring to accomplish? Are our deeds, plans, aspirations worthwhile endeavors for the spiritual organization bearing the divine name of our Lord Bhagavan Baba? We need to ask ourselves in our collective self-inquiry, what is real and worthwhile now and forevermore? As opposed to what is fleeting, frivolous, and irrelevant. One very important aspect of this World Conference is to take inventory of our state of being and how we represent ourselves. There's often a disparity between our current state of affairs in terms of our spiritual development and our worldly actions. Our service activities, our accomplishments in healthcare, education, and other areas are sometimes exaggerated. Sometimes there's an incongruity between our talk and our deeds. Let us become cognizant of this incongruity and address it. Let us not become grandiose and lull ourselves into a state of complacency. We are doing much good work. Let us report it accurately, faithfully. A handful of devotees spending only a paltry sum who are inspired from within and act with wisdom and love can do big things. They can do much more than a large group of people who spend millions in a presumptuous and grandiose display. That is without divine wisdom and without divine love. From a paradigm of real and deep, wise and loving, sincere and selfless, come great events, deeds, and works. Mahatma Gandhi marched to the sea and made salt. The people were inspired, and the oppressors of the people took notice. He didn't spend a lot of money, but his deed was noble and monumental with lasting effect. Let us learn from this. Let us not operate from a paradigm of presumption and ego with loud noise, glaring displays, nothing that inspires but much that alienates the sensitivities. We are not seeking popular appeal or approval. We do not seek what will please all of the people. Rather, we seek the common good of all of the people. Who is to decide what is the common good? The answer, of course, is very simple. Every man and every woman has access to knowledge of the common good of all. That knowledge of the common good of all patiently awaits acknowledgement from each and every member of the human race. When you acknowledge yourself, your true self, you also acknowledge the wisdom of the ages, divine wisdom and selfless love. You acknowledge the love and wisdom of our beloved Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, Lord of Lords, Avatar of the Kali Yuga. Listen, you will have knowledge of the common good. Listen to your heart. Therefore, we do not seek to say or do that which will please all of the people all the time. Rather, we seek to say or do that which reflects the highest wisdom and accomplishes the greatest good and inspires love in our brothers and sisters. We seek to act with divine inspiration as instruments of divine will. Swami says, be, do, tell. But we often succumb to the temptation to show and tell instead of be, do, tell. We talk before we have done and become. That is hypocrisy. First and foremost, we must become exemplars, not bad examples. Then we must do, act from inner instruction of conscience, not act for recognition or selfish gain. Then we are qualified to tell, to share our spiritual experience with the world, speak and act based on what we have understood and experienced from the depths of our own hearts. To do otherwise is hypocritical. It is the antithesis of spirituality. With regard to be, do, or tell, first you become selfless, then you do selfless work, nishkama karma yoga. Then you will tell as a result of the inquiries and acknowledgement that you will receive. People will respond, their hearts will respond to your heart, which will be demonstrated in your selfless work and your selfless love. You will be, you will do, and you will righteously tell. As opposed to show and tell. Here you make an ostentatious display. You will present yourself as something that you are not or more than you are. Some people will be impressed and other people will be repelled. Those people who have wisdom and depth will be repelled that you represent yourself as something with a spiritual orientation, yet you are ostentatiously displaying something in an egoistic manner. Even the people who subscribe to what you're showing, who applaud your efforts, even that will be shallow and short-lived. Let us be, do, tell, not show and tell. Let us follow Swami's words. Be, do, tell. Let us become, let us accomplish. And then when inquiries come to us, we will respond faithfully and appropriately. By practicing his teachings, we are transformed and others are inspired to seek their own transformation. We practice the divine message and it illuminates the world. The most important work of the Sai organization is that all of us should become living examples of his message. Has he not said to us, your lives are my message? Let us be real. Let us join together in a common effort to uplift the quality of this organization so that it is genuine and is worthy of bearing the divine name of Bhagavan Baba. To the extent that we go deep into our own hearts and seek to do his work, good ideas will come forth. They will not be selfish or foolish. They will be wise and constructive, tempered with Sai love from the depths of our hearts. Let it be thus. For this conference or any assembly to be worthy of the divine name of Bhagavan Baba, it must be thus. With Swami's grace, this 9th World Conference of the International Sri Sathya Sai Organizations will not be an occasion where there will be more shallow talk, words that fade away, ideas and feelings that excite and depress, that rise and fall. Instead, let us pray that Swami will uplift us, enable us, all of us, to rise to the occasion. We will rise, not fall, and continue to rise to the full potential of our wisdom and our love. In conclusion, I pray that Swami will open our minds, fill our hearts, and make all of us very, very, very loving, wise, and productive. May we all experience a very happy and blessed Sri Sathya Sai World Conference 9. Jai Sai Ram to all of you.
Thank you, Dr. Goldstein. The next speaker I would like to introduce is Professor Dr. Gries. Professor David Gries received his doctoral degree in mathematics from MIT, which is the Munich Institute of Technology in Munich, Germany. In the USA, he has taught computer science at Stanford University as well as in Georgia. He has been professor of computer science at Cornell University for 40 years, where he is also currently serving as the Associate Dean of Engineering. Dr. Gries has served as president of the Northeast region of the USA Sathya Sai Organization and also as the National Service Coordinator. Presently, he is the webmaster of the International Sathya Sai Organization website. Dr. Gries is also chair of Zone 1 of our International Sathya Sai Organization, which includes the Sathya Sai organizations in the USA, Canada, West Indies, and Israel. Professor David Gries has been recognized throughout the world for his outstanding teaching abilities. There are many computer science journals in the world. The 4 most prestigious computer science journals give out an award each year to the most outstanding computer science teacher in the world. Dr. David Gries is the only professor in the whole world who has won all 4 computer science teaching awards. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. David Gries.
My most humble salutations at the divine lotus feet of our dear Lord Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Dr. Goldstein, Dr. Reddy, honored guests, brothers and sisters, members of the Prashanti Council, brothers and sisters, I can't tell you how fortunate we are to be here at the divine calling of the Avatar of the age. We haven't come on our own will, but on the will of God Himself. We all recognize that we are just actors on the stage of life, acting not out of our own will, but because the one that is within all of us is within us, playing out the role assigned to us. We believe there is only one, and we ask the one to lift the veil of ignorance so that we can experience and be aware of that oneness. Everything is part of the one song, the universe. Uni means one, verse means song. This universe is the one song, and we are all musicians in the orchestra playing that song. What compels this belief in us? Our interactions with Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, the embodiment of that one. All of you can remember times where he looked at you, spoke to you, came to you in your dreams, that had a tremendous effect on you. And sometimes that effect was not immediate, but happened many years later. But who of us, when we first saw him 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, thought we would be here today? Only one person, the Avatar, Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai himself. Only he, with those powers of full avatarhood, the conductor of the song, knew how it would unfold. So why are we here? He has drawn us here to discuss the Sai International Organization, to decide what steps to take to make it into the Sai Ideal Organization. We don't know what will come out of this conference. We don't know the future. But we know that we have to play the part that Swami has given us to the fullest extent possible, putting our heart and soul into it. And what are we supposed to do? Today and tomorrow morning, we will take part in study circles. The topic, in a nutshell, how this organization can move more effectively to promote its purpose and aim. And what is that? That is to remove the obstacles that keep humanity away from God, that separate humanity from divinity, that hold us from experience the oneness. Pages 6 and 7 of the agenda list 4 discussion topics: our expectations, the uniqueness of the Sai organization, the attributes of the Sai Ideal Spiritual Organization, and its rules and guidelines. You have not been given specific questions to address, for that may have narrowed your discussion too much. Each of your countries has different issues and different cultural considerations, and asking you to focus on a few specific questions may have been too confining. A small group of us did look through available documents and guidelines of the Sai organization throughout the world, and these look at the guidelines have guided the following remarks. First, we know the aim of this organization is to remove the obstacles that keep humanity away from God. Those are Swami's words. The charter of this organization says the same thing, but differently. The objective is to help the individual become aware of the divinity inherent in them and to conduct themselves accordingly. And Swami has mentioned this in almost every single one of his 1,500 discourses. In your deliberations, then, discuss whether all members of the Sai organization actually know this objective, whether the programs and practices of our organization are really oriented toward achieving this objective, and what the Sai organization should do differently in order to better achieve those objectives. As you deliberate, don't just simply let a sense of complacency and inertia and comfortableness with the current state of affairs lure you into saying everything is all right. We all have a tendency to like the status quo. Instead, take a fresh look at our organization and look inside yourself and think about how we might improve. Second, the uniqueness of the Sai organization. Swami has said, and I quote, "The Sai organization was set up solely to enable members to manifest their love in all their activities. Without boasting about it, we can claim there are no organizations in the world like the Sai organization." He said the goal was to enable members to manifest their love. That is exactly the same as indeed helping them to become aware of the divinity inherent in them. That is our goal in different words. The conference agenda asks you to compare this organization with others, religious, service, philanthropic, political, whatever, and ponder on the differences. So in your study circles, talk about what you think our programs and practices make us unique, and whether the public views us as unique. Here's an example. In some countries, the website of the Sai organization says, right at the beginning, we are a service organization. The idea that we're a spiritual organization appears at the end of the homepage. And based on that homepage, the public might think we are a Red Cross or Salvation Army or Oxfam. Is this the right message for the public and even for our own Sai organization members? Perhaps this viewpoint came from Swami's statement that service is the life breath of the Sai organization. But think about that. Is breathing our purpose? Breathing is only the means to the end. We breathe to stay alive so that we can focus on the purpose of life. In the same way, we do selfless service because it was one means to strive toward experiencing that oneness. And we have programs and practices in place that lead us on other paths: devotion, wisdom, service. We all use a mixture of these paths. No, we are a spiritual organization. Another point to consider: we're not a religious organization, are we? Everyone says we're not. We're not a branch of the Hindu religion. We're not Christian. We're not Jewish. Our charter says that one objective is to make devotees of the religions more sincere and dedicated in the practice of their respective religions. So here are some questions to consider. Is that the view the public has of the Sai organization? Is that the feeling a guest gets from your Sai center or regional meetings? Would a spiritual seeker visiting your center meeting in your country feel comfortable no matter what religion they come from? So in your study circle, ponder these questions and recommend different practices and programs so we can indeed become a Sai ideal organization. The third topic for discussion is the attributes of the Sai ideal organization with respect to its structure, function, programs, practices, and leadership. In order to get some overall perception of these attributes, we studied as many documents that we could find: center manuals, country guidelines, zone guidelines, website. And this naturally folds into the fourth topic of discussion, the rules and guidelines, and how they are communicated to members, the officers, and the public. We found large differences in this documentation, from no guidelines at all, to a 3-page list of basic understandings, to a small 20-page booklet, to a 150-page document. From a broad overview of the leadership details to even the format of emails. From a sense of the history of this organization, why it is there, to no mention of that at all. Many had details on incorporation of Sai organizations, others didn't mention it at all. So we find complete differences in these attributes. And it was not always clear from the document who the document was for. Do you expect members in a Sai center to digest 150 pages? No. That clearly was meant for officers, but then is there a document for Sai Center members explaining the spiritual nature of this organization, laying out the principles, describing the history? It seems to me that such a document for Sai Center members is utmost important. So here are some thoughts for discussion in your study circles. Do you have or do you need guidelines for Sai centers that provide a good perspective? Are your members aware of all the guidelines? Do they know there is a charter for this organization? Have they seen it? Do they have to see it? We have sometimes found that center members don't even know of the existence of center guidelines. Should there be periodic study circles on the objectives of this organization and how they are to be realized? Should the Prashanti Council provide guidance on this? How can we rewrite guidelines for devotional meetings so they are relevant to the culture of our country? Getting back to the attributes of the Sai ideal spiritual organization, everybody agrees to the 9-point code of conduct. But then there are a host of worldly issues that we must consider, even though we are a spiritual organization, that are handled completely differently in the different regions of the world. Consider officers in Sai centers. In some countries, center officers, that's the president, vice president, wing coordinators, are selected by the members. Not an election, but a selection aiming at a real, everybody agreeing to it, consensus. Others have elections. Others don't have it, they have appointment. our center officers in your region appointed, elected, or selected? What are the advantages and disadvantages of each? Would consistency be appropriate? And there are a whole list of worldly issues that somehow have to be addressed somewhere, perhaps not today, but this is something that the organization have to come to grips with. Issues of incorporation, owning of property, finances are all handled differently. The guidelines for one large country explicitly states that centers cannot incorporate and are not part of any nonprofit organization, and this creates some problems for them. One issue that comes up often is the relationship with other organizations, with respect to service, but others as well. Can a Sai organization work with another organization? What are the ground rules for that? What is the stance of the International Sai organization on reaching out to the public in the form of public meetings, joint service projects with others? Is it okay to invite religious and other spiritual organizations to participate in the Khanda Bhajans? Some want to do this. Should the Sai organization take part in events designed to promote unity of faiths? How is it to address this business of addressing the public? We have had many public meetings, but many centers are not sure of just how they should go about reaching out to the public, should they? That is not our purpose, but at the same time, we do want the public to know something about our organization and its spiritual backing. I'm sure that each of you has some organizational issue that needs resolving. Your facilitator will be guiding your study circle with some questions prepared ahead of time. But if the appropriate moment comes, suggest that your issue be addressed. In closing, let me say this. We all know the objective of this organization is to enable individuals to become aware of the divinity in them. But how do we ourselves do that? Becoming aware is not our doing. It happens only by the grace of that one embodied in our beloved Sai. We can't force it to happen. And it happens perhaps when we are able to give up all our desires, even perhaps the desire for that oneness, and simply surrender. One person told me yesterday it amounts to abandoning everything. Each of us strives for the state of non-striving in a different way. My way consists of service work. Feeling guilty about it, not doing meditation, doing yoga, and other such practices, I once asked Swami, how can I change my sadhana, Swami, to get closer to you, to experience God? And his reply was, keep doing what you're doing. Don't change anything. Experiences will come when they are supposed to. So it's not something that I can do anything about, not anything you can do about. Your job is just to go on doing the work that God puts before you, striving whenever you can to think of the fact that it is the God in the other person that you are serving, and to do it all with as much divine love as you can muster, and then leave the rest to God. So as we deliberate on how this organization can better achieve its objectives, let us remember that we ourselves don't know how to achieve those objectives. And we really need guidance from above. Swami, as we talk about leadership and structure and worldly guidelines and all that, please help us to be aware that you are present in each and every one of us, and help us to perform these deliberations with your divine love. Om Sai Ram.
Thank you, Professor David Gries. I would like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Narendranath Reddy. Dr. Narendranath Reddy, MD, is a director of the Sri Sathya Sai World Foundation and is the chairman of the Sri Sathya Sai International Medical Committee. He is also a member of Prashanti Council and the president of Sathya Sai Society of America. As a physician, he graduated with distinction from SV Medical College, Tirupati. He received his training in internal medicine at the New Jersey College of Medicine and Dentistry and did his subspecialization in endocrinology and metabolism at Mount Sinai School of Medicine, New York. He has also been a practicing internist endocrinologist in Southern California for over 30 years. He is a fellow of the American College of Physicians and the American College of Endocrinologists and is on the teaching faculty of the Keck School of Medicine, University of Southern California. Please welcome Dr. Narendranath Reddy.
Sarvarupadharam Shantam, Sarvanamadharam Shivam, Satchidanandam Advaitam, Satyam Shivam Sundaram. With love, reverence and gratitude, I offer myself at the divine lotus feet of our dearest, sweetest, loving and most beautiful Lord, Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Distinguished and honored guests, respected elders, dear sisters, brothers and delegates, greetings of loving Sai Ram to all of you on this auspicious time of 85th birthday celebration of our dear Lord Sai. This celebration started in the beginning with some beautiful showers of love, and now we have beautiful sunshine of the wisdom. So love to wisdom, that is the spiritual path. I first want to express gratitude to Bhagavan and all of you for giving me this opportunity to share his universal and eternal message and his pure, selfless, unalloyed divine love with you this morning. First, at this outset, again, I want to express gratitude to Bhagavan for guiding us at every step at this World Conference, for choosing the dates, giving us this beautiful venue of Purnachandra in this holy precincts of Prashanti Nilayam next to the divine abode of Ejur Mandir. How blessed and fortunate we are to have his divine blessings and guidance at every step. His love and kindness is unfathomable, not comprehensible by the mind and can't be expressed in the words. That is why the scriptures say, Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasaha. So even the little detail he gives, the other day I was showing to Swami, he kindly blessed the books, all of you received the bags, and the badges I showed the samples to Swami, 5. And then Swami said, only 5 people are coming. Then Mr. Chakravarti Garu, he saved me. He said, no Swami, they are just the samples. Then we took the bag full of the delegate badges and Swami looked and blessed. So each badge is blessed. This is to show Swami attention to detail. We all, whatever work we do, we need to have attention to detail. That's why Bhagavan Krishna says, Yoga Karma Sukaushalam. Perfection in action is yoga. And Swami is the greatest example to show how any action we do, we need to have attention to detail and have perfection in action. Bhagavan Krishna has said in Gita, the Lord incarnates age to age whenever there is decline of dharma for the upliftment. The Lord Krishna came, the Lord Rama came, and the Lord Jesus came when the temples of worship have become places of business to show the path of love, compassion and sacrifice. When the people of Bharat were misled and were involved in the Vedic rituals and doing increasing animal sacrifices, forgetting the real spiritual principles, the Lord Buddha has come to show the man the path of love, compassion and non-violence. Now, in this present materialistic world, we are all caught up in www, World Wide Web. Everybody goes World Wide Web, www. What is this? Swami says, wealth, wealth, wealth. We're all caught up in this web of pursuit of wealth. Like the earth goes around the sun, Swami says, man from the dust to the dawn to the dust is in pursuit of wealth and wealth and wealth. And that is the reason for the grief, bondage, and suffering. For thus, Swami has shown the another www. What is that? Work, worship, and wisdom. He has shown bhakti, jnana, and service, karma yoga, how to get rid of this bondage. So from bondage, grief, and suffering, you go to the joy, peace, and happiness. Swami has shown us the way. We are indeed blessed and fortunate. As the scriptures, Viveka Chodamani says, three things are impossible to get by human effort, only by divine grace. Manushyatvam, Mumukshatvam, Mahapurusha Samshayam. To be born as a human being is the sign of divine grace. Swami says there are 8.4 million species of beings. The pinnacle of creation is human birth. That is why he says, Jantunam Narajanma Durlabham. Only through human birth can we attain the highest goal. So second is, there are being as a human being, but do we have that interest to know God? Mumukshatvam. That is also a sign of divine grace. There are more than 6 billion people on this planet Earth. How many people want to know God? Everybody is interested in eating, sleeping, and being merry. But only by His grace, we are all fortunate, assembled here in this holy land of Puttaparthi, having the longing for God. But we may have human birth, we may have a desire for God. But third most important is Mahapurusha Samshayam. We have contact with a great soul like Ramana Maharshi, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Paramahamsa Yogananda, or Nisargadatta Maharaj, because this spiritual path is walking at a razor's edge. Churashyadhara, that is what Kathopanishad says. You need a great guru, but we don't have a guru. We have Purushottama himself as our guru, God, and guide. The Lord of the universe and teacher of teachers, Sadguru, Jagadguru has come us to guide us, take us by hand, take us to the goal. So how blessed and fortunate we are. Swami, in his infinite compassion and love, in May 17th, 1968, in the First World Conference, has given us the glimpses of his divinity. He said, we are more blessed and fortunate than the sages, monks, and anchorites of the yore. He says himself, Swami said, in this divine form, remember all the divine entities and names ascribed by man to God are present. Never be deluded by this human aspect of Bhagavan. He says, never forget. So Swami is one in all in one, all in all, and beyond all. So we are lucky that this omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent Lord, who is beyond names, form, and attributes, who has no birth and no death, who is eternal and changeless, who is beyond the confines of time, space, and causation, has come in this human form with the attributes of love, compassion, and sacrifice, and this beautiful name and form, Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. We are very blessed and fortunate. So, but what is Swami? Swami is the embodiment of love walking on two legs. Swami says his life is his message, and his message is love. That is why Swami says, start the day with love, fill the day with love, end the day with love. This is the way to God. Swami says, God is love is God, live in love. This is the way to God. Swami's life, his message, his ideals, and his humanitarian works can all be enshrined in only one word. That is love, love, and love. That's all his message. Swami, he says, the source is love, the path is love, the goal is love. In fact, the miracles Swami does are the manifestations of his love. Yes, Jesus has made the lame walk, the blind see, and raised the dead to life. And Swami has done millions of miracles, and each one of you is probably a witness to these miracles. In fact, at this present time, just this week itself, one of our senior devotees who is present here among you, he had an acute medical emergency, surgical abdomen. He is here. And we prayed, Dr. Goldstein, myself, prayed to Swami, Swami, he needs surgery. Swami says, doctor, what do you know? He's the divine physician. Physicians and of physicians, he transcends all laws of nature, science. Next day, let me tell you, my friends, the first day it was acute abdomen, which is confirmed by the laboratory test, the CAT scan, the ultrasound, everything. He has distant abdomen ready for surgery. Next day, Swami's one word of Swami. Next day, we went. His abdomen is soft, bowels are active. He's all cured. So he is the divine physician, surgeon of surgeons. Just how lucky and grateful we are to have him guide us, guard us at every step. But what is the sign? Why does he do these miracles? Is it that is the purpose why Swami has scared? Swami says miracles are just like mosquitoes on an elephant in his divine mission. They are not significant. He has come to do these miracles so that we have transformation of character. That is what Swami wants us. Even tells the students, end of education is character. Swami gives a beautiful story to illustrate the role of character and also transformation. Swami says there was a great king. Swami's stories are so beautiful. The parable, the greatest metaphysical truths, the greatest Upanishadic declarations, he makes it in very simple stories and parables. Swami said there was a great king who was very generous, known for his philanthropy and generosity. So he went to the king, one great sculptor. He took three statues. They looked identical. He told, Your Majesty, give them whatever the worth of these statues are. They looked identical. He is a wise king. The king took the statues, put the wire in one of the ears of the statue. It came out to the other ear. He says, this is the lowest kind. Give it $1,000. Next one, put it in the ear. It came to the mouth. This is better. Give it $10,000. The other one, he put it in the ear. It didn't come out at all. Swami says, this is the highest kind. It is invaluable. Similarly, Swami says, there are three kinds of spiritual seekers. For a lot of us, goes through one ear, goes to the other ear. They say, Swami gave a powerful divine discourse. He says, what did he say? We scratch our head, put a blank face. That is the lowest kind. The next kind is, goes to the ear. They remember the stories. They can give speeches, or write books. Swami says, there are platform heroes, practical zeros. We can all give speeches. Whether really do you live that? The highest kind are those where it goes in and doesn't come out. You digest, you ruminate, you contemplate, make it part of your life. That is the highest order of spiritual seekers, in whose presence you don't need to say a word. In the presence of Bhagavan Ramana or Aurobindo or this great master, just being in their presence, you have that joy, peace and bliss. That is what Swami wants us. That is the transformation. Live his practice, his teachings. In this same first World Conference, Swami has said, the best way to get his grace is only one. What did he say? Implicitly, immediately, completely follow my divine command. Implicitly, immediately, completely follow my divine command. Swami has given the answer how we can be redeemed. He says, this will give you more benefit than all the japa, dhyana and austerities you do. We need to implicitly follow his command. What is his command? He always addresses as what? Divyatma Swarupulara, Prema Swarupulara. That is all he addresses. He never calls to Bhaktulara. He doesn't call us anything. That means we need to realize our true identity, that we are the divine Atma, we are the divine love. For that, the transformation is the most important. But why we are not able to transform? As Dr. David Gries said, there are two obstacles for all of us. One is ahankara, another is mamakara. That I am the doer and I am the enjoyer. I'll tell you beautiful two anecdotes what Swami I have experienced with. One time they have come, a group of American devotees, they brought a beautiful play and it was very good. Swami was very happy. The play is so beautiful and all the devotees were happy. Swami asked this leader, oh, who is the director of this drama? This man is very humble. Swami, you are the director of the drama. Then Swami asked, what about you? So he said, so I am just an assistant, Swami. And then Swami said, I don't need any assistant. So he is all in all. He is the producer, he is the director, he is the actor. We need to be convinced he is all in all. So we should not have that feeling of doership. Next obstacle is feeling of ownership and enjoyership. Ahankara and mamakara, this belongs to me. This is another devotee, late Professor Kasturi has told me. It's a beautiful story to illustrate the message. So this devotee from Delhi invited Swami, Swami, please to come to my house. Those days Swami used to visit the house. Swami said, your house? Oh, then he realized this mistake. No, Swami, our house. Oh, 50-50% partnership. Then he says, no, Swami, your house. Then Swami cute. He said, why are you inviting me to my house? So, to make sure that we should be convinced everything belongs to God. He is all in all. That is what we should do. And for that, the best and the easiest path for this time is, as I said, service, selfless service. Do with the selfless service, that will reach us the goal. That is why Chittasya Sudaya Karmanaha, the purpose of service is to purify our heart. That is why Jesus said, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. If any service we do, it increases our ego, then it is an obstacle for our spiritual growth. We should all remember, whatever position we are in, whatever service we do, it is making us ego increase. That is an obstacle for our spiritual growth and transformation. We should pray to Bhagavan so that we don't work really without any ego, so that we get that purity of the heart and we realize our God. Finally, I want to end. The whole purpose of this is to realize our divine nature. As he said, we to realize we are divine, we are love. But there is, Swami said, there is nothing to realize. You are already that. Only thing is because of your delusion, illusion, ignorance and imagination, you are confusing that you are that body, mind, intellect complex. Wake up. He says, you are not that. You are really a Brahman. With eyes open or eyes closed, you realize that you are divine. That is why Swami says, don't try to seek God, but seek God. See God in every atom, cell, because everything, whole universe is permeated by God. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Everything is permeated. This is a beautiful story. I will end with this story. This is Swami's stories. Everything Swami's stories are beautiful. There was a lion, so it was getting old. It was going through a forest. It gave birth to a baby lion, calf, and in the process, the lion died. Then this baby calf was brought up by a shepherd along with the sheep. He was a very kind man. So it was brought up along with the sheep, and so it eats the grass like the sheep, bleat like the sheep, just behave like a sheep, because that's what all it knew. One day, as it was growing up, after a while, a big lion was passing in the forest. It was sort of wonderstruck with his sight. This baby lion among the sheep, how is it happening? So it wanted to go and catch the baby lion and find out what is happening. And the baby lion started running like the sheep, because it thought it was the sheep. Finally, it got hold of the baby lion, took it to the nearby lake, and showed the image. See, you and I are one. So don't bleat like sheep, roar like a lion. Similarly, Swami says, don't identify you are the sinners, I am this body, mind, intellect complex. Roar like a lion, saying, I am divine, I am the Atma, I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. That is why Swami says the title we should get is Shrunanti Visve Amrutasya Putraha. We are the children of immortality. We are already that. Swami says what all you need to do is removal of immorality is the way to immortality. Removal of ignorance is the way to enlightenment. Removal of non-duality is the way to duality is the way to non-duality. That is why let us march forward. As David says, we should not be stagnant. Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. That is what the Kathopanishad says. Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapya, Varani, Bhutata. Let us all arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. The goal supreme, the goal that we are the divine. So I pray to Bhagavan to bless all of us, so that in this very lifetime, when this loving and living avatar is there, we can attain and reach the goal. Thank you for your patient and kind attention. Jai Sai Ram.